It's Saint Seiya time! Hello and welcome to another figure review. Today we're going to have a look at the same cloth myth EX Dragon Shiryu in the revival version. Yes, I have another one of those guys. I just recently reviewed Ikki and I talked so much about how Ikki is my favorite. But Ikki wasn't around at first. He wasn't there day one. Day one, this guy was my favorite. The dragon guy. He looks badass, has the long black hair, and just like, come on. A dragon armor? Of course, it looks amazing. So obviously, also had to get this one. And without further ado, I just want to have a look at the figure. Oh yeah, by the way, this is revival version, so it's a re-release. So before we get to the good stuff, the armor, etc., I want to have a look at the lanky boy over here without anything on that. Yes, this figure is extremely plain, but it's supposed to be displayed with the armor on, although they have a mode where you can combine the armor into a figure itself. Which, in that case, you would just be left with this guy, which isn't really great. But why am I even looking at this? Because it's easier to show you all the articulation points that are on the figure. I will go with the articulation once I got the armor on, but this is a lot less troublesome right here, right now, to do it without anything on. So, the head is, from what I can tell, just on a ball, so you can bring that back and forth. It's pretty loose. It's also tilting side to side, and it would go all the way around. Well, if you give it the right angle, it does. I was gonna say would, because the hair would get into the way, especially with the armor shoulder pads on, so you can forget that. Then for the shoulder, you can rotate it in here very freely. It has a great range, and also you do have the hinge. You can also rotate it on the hinge, but you also have a bicep swivel and a double hinged elbow. It's like a classic Bandai double hinge, which they had on the Dragon Ball figures a long time ago, because the lower hinge doesn't really go all the way up, which isn't a big deal, but you know, something to consider. You have the ball hinge on the fist, which you can also rotate around, no trouble there. And the torso, the chest area, which is really incredibly stiff on this guy. It does go forward, but I feel like I have to give it a huge push to even get there. And as soon as I touch it, it pops back. So that's weird. Doesn't really go side to side, and doesn't also rotate. Well, it would, but again, it's so incredibly stiff. I don't want to force it. I don't want to break anything off, so I'm going to leave it at that. You have the hip part, which you can rotate. It is on a ball, but once again, doesn't have a lot of room, and the way it's molded, it also doesn't even go all the way around. So that's kind of disappointing already. Now for the legs, move forward, move out to the side, and not really to the back because of the butt. Can also move it on the thigh swivel, have the double hinged knees, and the feet are just packed in, so you can rotate the entire foot around, by the way. And it also moves forward to the back and does go inside, but not really outside. It's one of these hinges that only goes one way. And then you also have a toe hinge. Size of the Dragon Man, he stands at about 18 centimeters, well 16 to the top of the head and 17 and a half to the top of the dragon ears or spikes or whatever you want to call it, what's coming out of the back. So that means a little over 6.1 inches to the head and 6.8 inches to the top of the helmet. Size comparisons. Here's Jolter, the SH Figure Arts Son Goku, NECA Michelangelo, Pegasus, and Darkseid. So here we do have the good stuff, but one thing first and foremost, this guy surprisingly doesn't have that much die cast on him. It's a lot of shiny plastic, and it shows because the die cast parts are a lot less shiny and a bit darker than the rest of the body. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but I'll have a look at it in great detail. Also great detail is the face sculpt. I love the old school Saint Seiya, like old school really anime design of these figures with the eyes. With not that much detail, but it still looks good. It still looks accurate to the anime. Also, you got the dragon hat with the red eyes and the gold. Same as with Ikki, I feel like this would have really benefited from being die cast, because stuff like this, the antennas of the dragon, or like the beard of the dragon, or whatever you want to call it, is likely to snap off if you're making a wrong move on it. So be very careful with that. You got the shoulder pads and the entire collar that goes around. Also, I like how they engineered the hair because basically you're taking the entire head apart and you're just wrapping the helmet around it. You have this part of the hair which you just kind of stick in there, and also the hair is just now connected to the head and neck, you know, because like the previous hair part obviously wouldn't work with the helmet. So they did some cool stuff with that. And then we got to the chest plate, which is tightly on there for now. I mean, I will have a stretch test, and we have some more die-cast parts covered under there. I mean, actually these parts, that's the only die-cast part so far. Of course, you have the entire chest plate which wraps around, which is die-cast. I mean, this piece is a single piece which is shiny. As you can tell, you know, there's like the die-cast, and that's where it stops. Then the forearm plates are die-cast once more, nice and heavy. Like, I had the biggest problems though with this stuff always sliding down. I feel like I have it even in the right angle. I think it's alright. But yeah, then we move down to the belt, which has a great amount of detail on there. Nice gold, and the belt itself is die-cast. The symbol isn't, and these flappy, spiky things also on die-cast. Also the one in the back, it's like a triple. The connection on that is freaking awful. That's like most likely to fall off. And also there's the hair. Didn't really have a look at it, but the stupid long hair, but looks pretty elegant. And also we do have the shield on this side, unique to his left arm, and down to the shin pads and the knee pads, which are also indeed die-cast. And also the feet are die-cast. I don't know if I mentioned that, but yeah, absolutely a thing. And shield as well. And yeah, I mean, overall it looks great, but yeah, I would have preferred to have a little bit more die-cast. Now let's get back to the articulation, which parts are completely useless now and which parts still work. I think the head, due to the collar and everything that goes around it, yeah, it still goes forward, it doesn't really go, well, you still have some backward motion and tilting as well. I'm trying to be super careful and not disconnecting it. It still has a little bit, but also I don't even reach the neck anymore. How are you gonna push the neck? Maybe getting in the back and using the head? No. The neck, well, it's getting dragged back by the hair. And there you go, mazel tov, that's what I said. I literally called that one, so I'm kind of happy that this one was the first one to fall off. The shoulder pads can be lifted up a teeny tiny bit to the back, so you can rotate this part still around. It doesn't really go up all the way anymore, but still has some good motion on it. And this piece just kind of snaps onto it. You do have some holes in the shoulder itself, so that works. And bicep swivel obviously is unhindered, and also you still get this up. And then for the fist, well, you just kind of pull, if you still can pull up the forearm pad, while the fist is still blocked. I mean, if you move it up any further, then you're blocking the elbow, so we don't want to do that. So the fist doesn't really get that much done anymore. I'm surprised that nothing has fallen off so far. The chest area goes back and forth as before, and still have some rotations with the hips. I'm just going to combine these two, so pretty much unhindered in that regard. Let's see with the legs. Still goes up and out to the side, and didn't really go to the back before, so why should it now? Then we have the double hinged knees as this kind of slips up. Yeah, this still works the same, and also the foot is going back and forth and still has the rotation in it. Well, if it's blocked, you can try to pull this up, and we still get, well, no, it doesn't really go as much inside anymore. The pivot is kind of blocked. You could pull the foot out though a little bit to work around that. Well, not that much, but you know what I mean. So, I mean, overall, I'm actually surprised how sturdy this guy is. There hasn't been a lot of things that fell off except for the back thing of his skirt, which I expected. Like, this connection is god-awful. I don't even know why they made it like that, why it's not connected directly to the belt. Like all the other pieces, you have these kind of just clipping on to the belt and it stays on there perfectly, but this back piece is god-awful, and I honestly consider gluing it on there because it sucks so much. So for the accessories, what is this weird contraption? Well, you just use this to display the armor without the man. I'll show you that in a second. Once again, here's the hairpiece, which you have from the character itself, which you're not going to use anymore. Once you get the armor on there, let's get to some more interesting parts like the faces. You have the closed eyes because, yes, he was blinded for a while, and you know, that's very relevant to have the closed eyes on him because he was finding blind while they were fighting like the golden guys. I don't recall the name of those, but anyway, you got the angry face, yelling face, and then the open hands. The reason I don't remember any names because I watched Saint Seiya in French like over 20 years ago, so excuse me for that. And then you have these kind of posing hands, and you got the single chop hand to go with it. And then of course, once you assemble all the armor parts into this is the dragon armor without the lanky boy, without the guy. You know, I don't really care that much for that, to be honest, but I feel like it's a necessary feature. If you just wanted to display the armors like that, it would make for a really cool display. I gotta be honest. My main problem is always like, what the hell would I do with this then? But here it is. Assembling it is, it's kind of busy design-wise, but still, again, I think it looks cool. Final thoughts for the dragon Shiryu. Now, overall design of this figure, it looks amazing. It comes straight out of the anime. I have so much nostalgia for this design, and I love it to bits. However, there are some issues with the coloring. Most specifically, as I was already saying, you have the die cast and you have the plastic. Both the colors don't really harmonize all too well because the die cast is darker than the chrome plastic. I don't know how well you can see on the camera. And also, I was looking at some pictures of like the original anime. You know, sometimes the color changes because it's not consistent 100% of the time. However, I just feel like the plastic, the shiny plastic, is a bit too bright. And while, you know, the die-cast parts are a lot more muted, a lot more darker green, which to me seems more authentic. But you know, other than that, that's really like the main issue I have with the figure. Other than that, I feel like the articulation still works well. With the armor on, everything also fits together fairly nice. Didn't have any big issues with that. And the accessories are what they are. They are minimal, but you know, they do the job. We have the closed eyes, which again, for this figure, for this character, I feel like is very important. What does that mean? I still mean that I will recommend this one. Even though like the coloring issue is bothering me, but I don't know. Everything else seems to be pretty much good, and since I don't have any other complaints, yeah, still a good figure. That's gonna do it, guys. As usual, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this review, hit it up with a like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for more figure reviews, card game stuff, and whatever Shiryu wants.